Hey everyone, welcome back to the Neurologic Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Joe, and I'm here today with Sylvie of the Concussion Community. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and where are you calling us from?
I am in the Netherlands. I'm working at the Concussion Community right now. I just wrote a blog, and I'm located in the Netherlands, but the Concussion Community is an online platform. So most people are from America and Canada and Europe.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have quite the time zone difference right now. So Sylvie, can you first kind of introduce yourself and your story to our audience?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Sylvie. I sustained a concussion and a whiplash almost 5 years ago. I had a scooter accident in Amsterdam, and I was driving home on my scooter, and I bumped into another scooter and then fell on the floor, but I didn't hit my head. So I just thought I have a whiplash. And my doctor didn't mention that I had a concussion during my first year. So I was only focused on my whiplash symptoms. So I went to my doctor many times, but he always sent me home just to rest or just do some neck movements, and that's it. And that's what I did in the first year. But after a year, I wasn't feeling any better. I tried many things, but it seemed like nothing really worked, and I felt really misunderstood by most doctors. I didn't know where to go. So I started Googling again. I tried to search for a lot of therapies, and my second year was, I think, almost the same as my first. I didn't feel a lot of improvements. I tried many things. I tried to exercise again, but I had so many setbacks, and also out of nowhere, they were just coming, and I didn't know what to do. And then after 2 years, I went to cognitive ethics, and it's a concussion clinic, and they really helped me. And I think from the moment I went there, I felt more improvements over time, but it's already 5 years ago for me. So sometimes it's a very slow process, and you feel improvements just when you look back for 6 months, for example, because I don't feel them every week again. But I feel I'm still improving at this moment, even after 5 years. So I believe, there's a lot of things possible, and I still have the truth, or have the faith that I will get better maybe one day. And I think it's the most important just to not lose hope, and look forward. Yeah.
Of course.
Yes.
So this has been a 5-year journey for you.
Yes.
And you mentioned cognitive effects. They help to a certain degree. What else have you tried, and what's been helpful, and what maybe hasn't been as helpful for you?
Yeah, I went to acupuncture. It helped me a bit to feel more balanced, but not really to get rid of my symptoms. I went to craniosacral therapy, and it also helped me to balance a bit more. And I felt really, really peaceful after the sessions, but it felt like it just lasted for a couple of hours. And then next day I was just back at the person as I was before the treatment. So it was just a temporary thing for me. I went to a psychologist to talk about the emotional side. I did so many things. Some of them, I think there are just a few of them that really worked, and that it's cognitive FX. Also more the alternative therapies, like what I just said. I think it's a combination of acupuncture, craniosacral, but everything together, it feels like they are connected. And these were the most important things for me. And also just changing my diets, doing exercise again, just building it up very slowly. I got some guidance for that as well. What did I do more? I just wrote a blog about all my treatments, but there are so many that I almost forgot about them, and it's already a long time ago. I went to someone who is more, I don't know the name in English for this one, but who is more, it's trying to straighten your back with movements. It's a chiropractor.
Chiropractor.
Yeah. I went to him as well, and that helped a bit. But it was only for my neck pain. But the other therapies, just for the concussion symptoms like cognitive thing, memory issues, I never find someone who was able to help me with that. So it was all just practiced by myself and doing cognitive things every day and doing some puzzles, doing exercise. That's the things that are helping me the most. Yeah.
And so from the concussion 5 years ago to now, I guess what percentage of improvement would you say you've achieved, and how far do you think you need to go still?
Well, I think in my first 2 years, so from the moment I got the accident until the second year, I felt like I improved maybe for 10%. And then in my second year, or in my third year, from the second to the third, I think I improved the most, because I went to Cognitive FX. I tried many different things like exercise, I changed my diet, I did a lot of cognitive stuff. I felt like I improved during the third year, from 10% to, let's say, 50 or 60. And then after my third year until now, almost 5 years, I think I'm at 75%.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's slowly getting up, and some days it still feels like it's back to 40, of course, and other days I feel like, oh, I'm at 80. But yeah, it depends on the day. But I think in general it's 75. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then our clinic and kind of the doctor base that typically listens to this and that we talk with, we're functional neurologists. Have you ever tried going that route?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
But
Yes.
it's really still on my list, because I heard so many things and I already tried so many things. So I don't want to get disappointed again, but I heard many great things about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And many functional neurologists specialize specifically on the treatment of or managing concussion symptoms, things like that. There's a lot of great people in the Netherlands, so maybe afterwards we can talk about more specifics there. But as far as the concussion community goes, that's a website that you run and operate. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I already had this idea in mind for about, I think, 2 years before I started it. So at first I didn't feel well enough to start. So I thought, okay, when I feel ready, when I feel better, I will start something like this, because it's a community, and it's not only a community where people can connect with each other, but also get more advice from professionals who treat people with concussions. And that's something I really missed in my journey, because I reached out to many doctors, but they didn't have any experience with concussions, or they didn't get how I felt. So that's something I really miss, like getting the help from people who really knows what's going on and really know how you feel. And that combined with the help from, or the support from others in the same situation, is something that I missed. So I thought, okay, why not creating something like this myself, and setting up a community where people can join, where people can learn, where people can interact with each other. And so basically I started in 2021. So it's now out there for a year. And I already received so many messages from people that were looking for something like this, that really helped them. And it's growing since the moment I started. So that's really nice to see that a lot of people will get real help, because I know how it feels to get so lost and to feel lonely, like you're the only one experiencing those symptoms. And I think it's great to have a place. It's for people where they can interact, and it doesn't have to be my community, of course. It can be any other place, but just to not feel alone and to learn from others, it's really powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was on your website and I read a lot of the reviews, and it seems like you've helped a lot of people. You've
Yeah.
given them a lot of hope back, and they
Yeah.
really value what you have to offer over
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just love it that people are really, really positive in the group, because sometimes I join some groups and there were people more about talking about what they can do, but I really love to focus on what they can do and how to
Mhm.
improve, and just a positive mindset is so much more powerful. And I love that people are, with me in the community with a positive mindset. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So, when someone were to join the community or go on to the community, what are some resources that they would have available to them?
Yeah, there are at this moment around 160 classes, and there are all different kind of topics. So there will be classes from movements to nutrition to exercise, memory issues, everything you can think of, every symptom.
Mhm.
There is some information about, hosted by a professional who knows more about it, and I created also 11 courses from the main symptoms, like also like exercise, nutrition, just to
Mhm.
guide them a little bit in steps through their goal. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Um, and then I think I saw there were like some free ebooks, things of that nature that people can download.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I just love to write about my story, about everything that I learned, that I went wrong. So I wrote this ebook about 7 things that helped me the most.
Mhm.
And that are the things, like, for example, I write about how I do my interval training, because this is something that's really helped me a lot. And I write in there how I do them every day or every week. And I also write a lot of blogs, because I just love writing and
Mhm.
sharing more about it, so people won't feel alone. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And from someone who personally is experiencing from a post-concussion syndrome, and someone who kind of works with a lot of other people who are in the same boat, what would you say is one of the most common frustrations or things that are lacking in the concussion world that people are really like looking for, really seeking?
Yeah, I think understanding, and yeah, it's hard to say, because I think you will only really understand when you have a concussion yourself. But
Mhm.
the understanding from doctors, or it happened a lot to me that I went to a doctor and they didn't even believe me, or
Mhm.
just told me it's all in my head, or it's a burnout or something like that. So yeah, I think you just people who listen to you and really trying to help, even if they don't really get how you feel, but just trying and
Mhm.
listening. And yeah, and just believe, if you say, okay, I feel this and this and this, just, yeah, believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I love the irony of that statement because we hear that a lot, and that it's all in your head. I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
true, it is
yeah,
in your head,
yeah.
but not in the connotation
I
that they may
know.
be
Yeah.
implying. Um, and I think that's where I'll just say a little bit about, what we do is that, we try to isolate and figure out, which areas of the brain may have been impacted the most, or,
Mhm.
where the symptomatology may be stemming from the most following the concussion. And then we do specific tailor-made exercises for each patient in order
Yeah.
to rehab those areas. So it's definitely a unique approach.
Yeah. But how do you measure, like, for example, what's off? How do you measure those things?
So I think, like you say in your website, that you can't really see this on an MRI, right? You can't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
do imaging to say like, okay, this is where the concussion is.
Yeah.
So what we do anyway is we have a battery of tests that we'll run, each patient through. And what
Mhm.
we're doing is we're determining the function of the nervous system. So if we know how your brain should work or how certain motor outputs should look, and we say like, okay, well, you're not doing so well on this test, that
Yeah.
is indicative, or that could correlate to this area of the brain or these
Mm.
networks. So once we kind of identify those areas, then we can create a treatment plan to help rehab them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I like to talk about like the shoulder, for example. So say we're in the Middle Ages and you get a shoulder injury, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Back then they didn't really have the tools to rehab a shoulder. Eventually, you're just going to stop using your shoulder. You're going to
Yeah.
use other ways. You're going to compensate, right? And that's kind of what's going on in the brain after a concussion,
Mhm.
right? So, up until fairly recently, there haven't been a lot of tools to identify and rehab kind of the
Yeah.
quote unquote
Yeah.
damaged shoulder, injured shoulder. So
Yeah.
what we do is we end up compensating around these injuries,
Mhm.
which, we may get better and better, but it's not going to be as good as it was until you actually rehab this shoulder, quote
Yeah.
unquote,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
But I guess to answer your initial question, a lot of the things we look very closely at eye movements, we look very
Right.
closely at balance,
Yeah.
we look at brainwave activity and
Yeah.
a whole host of other
Yeah.
neurological findings,
Yeah.
sensation, motor output, things like that, to paint a good picture of where in the brain
Mhm.
needs some help. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what
Exactly.
we offer. So I think
Yeah. And how do
yeah.
you see people respond to the treatments? People with concussion,
Yeah, and every concussion is going to be different, of
of
course.
course. Yeah.
And, there's always different variables, but
Yeah.
concussion is one of the primary things we see in our clinic and among other functional neurology clinics, and we see very good results.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, we'll have to touch base afterwards, and maybe I'll give you a few more specifics on someone nearby.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's,
Yes.
yeah. But, so we kind of talked about some of the common frustrations that most patients with concussions might experience.
Mhm.
If you had a magic wand and could fix the whole concussion, I guess, treatment approach or management approach for the better, what would your ideal world look like for concussion treatment?
Mm, like what treatment would help or?
Well, I guess like what would the process look like? You got a concussion and then,
Mhm.
it's a very frustrating process right
Yeah.
now. A
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
dead ends that people
Yeah. Yeah.
tend to run into. So how would you in a perfect world change things so that it's just so much smoother and easier for someone with a concussion
Yeah.
to get
Well,
help?
it's a hard question because as you said, every concussion is different.
Hmm.
And I think what will help for me is maybe not helping for someone else. So there's not this fixed roadmap of, okay, at month 1 you will do this and month 6 you will do this, because some people they feel a lot better after 1 month and other people they need maybe a year to be at the same level. But yeah, I think when I look at my recovery, what really helped me was taking action before the 1 year mark, because it felt a bit late for me and I just listened to my doctor to take rest. But I think rest is only good in the first week maybe or first days.
Hmm.
And still a lot of doctors, they tell you, okay, you need to rest and that's it. And I think there is something there, yeah, that's just not right. So I wish that people told me earlier about the steps, about the importance of exercise, about the cognitive stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, so in my opinion, those two things are really important, and also nutrition. So nutrition, exercise, and cognitive activity. And this was something I didn't do in my first year, and I
Hmm.
always regret why I didn't start sooner, because I think when I did start sooner with those 3 things, I maybe would feel better. But yeah, I don't know, of course. So yeah, I wish there was just a fixed roadmap, but I believe it's so different for everyone, because as you said, some people have balance issues. I didn't have balance issues. So all the symptoms are also different.
Sure.
And yeah, it's so hard to say. People tell me, okay, what should I need to do? Because yeah, I'm not a doctor and I don't have the good advice for everyone. But yeah, I think for everyone it's great to focus on nutrition, exercise, and cognitive things, because they will help, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think having doctors who have a better, well-rounded understanding of concussion to help triage and to help, direct patients in the right direction.
Exactly.
Because like we've been mentioning, every concussion is different. Some are more vestibular in nature, some are more cognitive in nature, some are more autonomic in nature. So some are a combination. So it takes someone who kind of looks at the whole picture in order to address the whole thing. So
and also someone who is more specialized in concussions, because I also went to, for example, to some optometrists, and they weren't specialized in brain injury or concussion, and they all told me there's nothing wrong, your eyes are working perfect. But when I went to someone who is specialized, to an optometrist who was specialized in concussion, they told me this is off. Yeah, so that's also a lot of important thing, that you go to someone who knows more about concussions. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we are just about out of time, Sylvie, but I wanted to make sure that I gave you kind of the last little bit to leave our audience with any final words you may have, or any thoughts of hope.
Yeah, I just want to mention that if you are feeling lost or lonely, you are not the only one, and I believe there is always something out there that will help you. It's so important just to focus on what you can do and what's possible. So my advice is to never stop looking, because there are so many different things out there you can try, and just not give up, because everything will get better and it will get easier even if you don't feel it. And believe me, I've been there myself, and I thought, okay, I felt very hopeless, and I thought I would never get out of this negative spiral, but you will. And also don't compare with anyone else, because all journeys are different, and yeah, you will do your journey in your own pace. So yeah.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Thank you again for coming on today, and thank you for all you do with the concussion community. It's a great help to a lot of people. So
yeah, thank you again for having me.
Of course. Okay. And this has been your host from the Neuro Wellness Podcast. Be well.